Delaney Thomas of Duke jumping it up against Ioka Lee, one of the most outstanding pivots in the nation, controlled by Kansas State. So very aggressive defense by the Duke Blue Devils. Good penetration, baseline jumper is good. Serena Sundell.
Ioka the ball altogether.
Shot clock down to 1. Off the miss by Richardson. Here comes K-State. Clad in their purple. Ziana Walker, Jalen Glenn, Serena Sundell, who hit that easy jumper, and the finish by Ioka Lee. Mayer, nice cross, big screen, nice roll, up, under, no. Averaged 20 points per game a season ago. She is in her 7th season.
Yeah, it's clear that Kansas State plays through Lee
Post
again.
Up. You can't stop that. And they are struggling here early today. Down 6-0 and a backcourt violation. So Walker off the inbound, Sundell. Back to Walker. They're looking for the post up down low for Lee. Here's Glenn on the angle. Walker up top. Poindexter around the screen. Duke will do a lot of switching. We will notice that here today. Timer down to 10. Sundell fadeaway jumper, good. 8-0.
Just gorgeous body control by Sundell. The defender was all over her, but she faded away and knocked that one down in the paint.
Man, that's good body control for sure. Here's Jackson looking to get off the schneid here. Her team down 8-0. Pull-up jumper, no. And off that miss, here comes K-State. Here's Glenn. Three-pointer on the way, swish. Timeout. Terrence Sides reports in for Kansas State. Here's Mayer down the middle. Nice dish, up and under, and the first bucket. So Sides with the handles. Again, they have the post up for Lee. Lob underneath Lee. Double team right out of there. Nice block by Donovan. Jaden Donovan of Duke.
Huge block. Excellent help side defense there.
Nice dribble penetration. The reversal is up, and it is good for Olochi Okinawa.
Just an athletic reverse, finishing with her left. She had a huge game against Belmont, 15 points.
Lee's back in the game. Lee delivers with a finish for 2.
There's not much you can do there defensively. Lee's just bigger, standing at 6'6", gets it up over her head and lays it in.
6 points now. Here's Wood. Turnaround jump hook. Falls. So Jordan Wood, a good finisher, had 10 against Liberty, 13 rebounds. Her high against Belmont. Lob again underneath. And this time Lee blows the lay-in. Looking to run. Okinawa had it. Entry pass underneath. Here's Donovan. Jordan Donovan, and she gets fouled. Notre Dame beat USC. That's a really good program there. And that one just as a clanker. 23 and 15 boards against South Dakota. 15 boards. There's Wood, who loses the handle. Taken back, Sundell. Here's Sundell into the open court. Walker pull up, three-pointer, air ball. And Duke back the other way. Trailing by 8. Oh, up under 2, Donovan. Ball is knocked away from Terrence Sides. Sides pull up 30-footer. Side rim, Lester looks to save, cannot.
Obviously not of Ioka Lee's stature, but of her skill set. So they faced these players before. They're just going to have to stick true to who they are defensively.
Richardson pull up 15, nails it.
Reagan Richardson, the senior, another player that we talked to Coach about pregame, excuse me. She loves Reagan Richardson. She's coachable, she's a leader. And right there, that was a smooth pull-up. Walker
on the pull-up, no. Yes, no size for Duke. They lost to an injury before the season began. Ariana Roberson, 6'4.5", and the layup is good. And so here comes Duke. There's hands everywhere through the lane. Poindexter got it back to Walker. Walker penetration dribble. 7 on the shot clock. Looks for an outlet. There's Lester, and her pass underneath, and she finally gets it. Sundell. Will that count? No. Credit the Duke defense.
And that's what they like to do. They like to pressure the ball and make everything difficult for their opponent.
Richardson and one.
We talked about her being the veteran, the senior leader. She's averaging 10.8 points per game, and she's also has only missed one free throw all season long. She's now 11 for 12. I didn't want to say that before she shot because I didn't want to give her the announcer's jinx, so I waited till after.
It's an 11-0 Duke Blue Devil run. 30 seconds here to go, and we've seen Duke battle back up and under Kennedy Taylor. So Taylor doing a good job in there, and they're playing Ayoka Lee sparingly.
And again, earlier on in the season, we talked about them holding her out of a game, just precautionary, just for that ankle that she had surgery on last season. So that might be something to watch out for here today.
DeJesus, 3 seconds to go in the quarter. Back the other way, Sundell's not going to get it off, and that will bring this first quarter to a conclusion. Kansas State with an 18-17 lead. They picked it up defensively, and they're just more deliberate and patient on the offensive end.
And that's what happens a lot of the time. Defense turns to offense. Once you get things going defensively, that's something you can control. Defense is all heart and effort, and then the offensive game will get going.
Thomas down the lane. She blows that lay-in, and the rebound comes down to Kennedy Taylor. So here's Walker. She gets cut off. Good defense once again. This is Okinawa who is defending her. Glenn, Sundell, Taylor. Taylor wanted to shoot and then pass and then turns it over. Okinawa. It was 11-0 at the beginning of this game. Here's Richardson for three. Ziana Walker. Sundell coast to coast. Laying for two. Jalen Glenn. Jalen Glenn with the lay-in.
And that's what Kansas State likes to do. They like to get out and run and get some buckets in transition.
Tiana Mayer off of a screen. Delaney Thomas is back in there. Nice pocket pass under. No. Gets her on board. Again, Thomas, no. Whistle, foul. So we saw Chelsea Gray of the Las Vegas Aces. She's here in attendance.
I mean, the amount of legends that have passed through that program, and Chelsea Gray is one of them. And as you mentioned, now here in Las Vegas playing for the WNBA Aces, two-time champs.
So Thomas connects on her 2 free throws, line drive variety. They have Taylor posted up, and her and Thomas are going at it. Underneath, that's Sundell, lay it up, pops out, no. She'll go to the free throw line.
Sundell's ability to create.
She had a play last season that stands out in my mind. NCAA tournament where the player's back was turned.
Oh, and she knocked it off their back?
Off her back, laying two.
One of the oldest tricks in the book. I like it.
Trickery. 21-19 your count. Kansas State leading the Duke Blue Devils. Floater Richardson will not stick. Rebound Kennedy Taylor. Here comes Kansas State. Sundell's going to trigger three-point range, front of the iron, and she gets the roll.
We're talking about Toby pregame and that viral video of her dunking in high school. It was all over the internet last season.
Jackson on target. Ring that baby up. Ashlyn Jackson just comes off the bench. She hits the three, and it's a 2-point game.
Huge.
That high layup for two for Tamira Poindexter. High dribble, lay it up off glass. Her team back up by 4. Under 6.5 remaining here. Jumper, no. Donovan. Rebounding foul.
And again, she's a grad student. So she is just a veteran out there. Just looks calm and composed.
What's Fournier supposed to do but foul her in the post? Quick 2 fouls on Toby Fournier. And they rely on her offense. She's averaging 15 points.
But I don't know if Fournier or even Duke's bench really agreed with that foul call there.
So the new rankings came out today. And yes, Duke and Kansas State moved up 1 spot. Duke now at 13 and K-State at 9. And later on, we have Oklahoma against DePaul. No one's talking about DePaul. A little floater in the lane, and that goes through for Ashlyn Jackson, who has a couple of baskets here in the second quarter of play. 28-24 in favor of K-State.
Just a real pretty release there by Jackson. The one dribble floater in the lane, almost impossible to guard.
Almost got a basketball in my face. It's good too.
I was ready, don't worry.
Again, this defense. Walker with 8 on the shot clock. Glenn goes up, wild shot. She only got backboard. Oh, this Duke pressure. Richardson. She is cut off in the lane there by Sides. Good defense and good transition D. And that is Richardson, or rather Jackson for 3. Ashlyn Jackson. Wanted to call her Action Jackson.
But turning great defense into offense. The Duke Blue Devils force an average of 22.5 turnovers. Another one right there on the season. And they are turning those turnovers into points on the other end.
Jackson's feeling it. Dribble penetration, kick outside. And off that miss by Mayer. Pull-up jumper is good. They have a 1-point lead now after trailing 11-0 from the jump. The double team, a lot of switching goes on. Here's Glenn. Glenn goes up. Shot is rejected by Jaden Donovan. My goodness.
It has been stifling here in the second quarter.
So head coach Jeff Mitty in his 11th season trying to figure out how to get his team to beat that pressure. Mayer. Up top, it's Ashlyn Jackson, and her pull-up's good. So Jackson has come on now with 14 points here in the first half of play. She's 6 of 8 from the court. Outside, Poindexter for 3, but she stepped out of bounds.
Another Kansas State turnover.
Blue Devils with a 9-0 run over 209. Jackson again feeling it. He checks swish. She buries it 17. Here's Sundell. Sundell. Baseline drive. Goes up. Rejected. Whistle foul. Scoring drought of 5 minutes and 14 seconds. His team shot 4 of 20 from three-point range. And they asked him at halftime, hey, your team did a really good job rebounding. He said, of course. We had all those misses.
Yeah, I think her quote was, she's not a stat chaser, right? She does everything that's needed. She's coachable. She knows what she's going to get out of Reagan Richardson night in and night out.
Jackson once again. 20 in the first half for Ashlyn Jackson, connecting from distance. Now 4 out of 5. Final shot coming down here at the end of this half. One that has now been dominated by Duke after an 11-0 opening spurt. Here's Lee with the finish. They needed that bucket bad. First field goal in 6 minutes. 2 down to 1, and that shot's not going to go for Jaden Donovan, and that'll bring the first half to a close. Exciting first half. Welcome back, Tony Cardasco, Kevin E. Martin from courtside at Lee's Family Forum on the outskirts of the city of Las Vegas. And there's a three-pointed being hoisted up from distance by Poindexter. And the ball will stay in the same direction. So double figures for Ayoka Lee, 10 points on 4 of 7 for K-State, 20 points for Ashlyn Jackson of the Duke Blue Devils in that first half of play. Turnovers, 8 points off a turnover, 8 for Duke, 4 for K-State, and in the paint.
Delaney Thomas there to open up the second half on the ball screen. Hedge and recover. Almost came up with a steal, but accidentally rolled out of bounds as she went to get the ball.
Hesitation dribble. Sundell hang in the air. Goes up too strong, and that's going to be a jump ball. Sundell got past her player there defensively and got to the basket. Here's Mayer, had 4 assists in that first half, and we're going to get a foul on Lee.
And then on the other end, taking it hard to the bucket.
Very rocky start where they trailed 11-0, and they also trailed in that Maryland game 9-0. However, they could not come back, and they lost that game 85-80. In the Sweet 16, they bowed out to UConn a season ago. 53-45 was the final there. Kansas State's going to have to get something going, but a whistle on the drive as Walker came off the bench, and we saw Kansas State beat number 4 Iowa last season. Second one will not fall, and it stays with Kansas State. So K-State now, Poindexter, a three-pointer on the way. No, that is way too long. Jackson with the rebound. Richardson off the switch. Jackson, lob pass down on the post. A jump pass underneath, and that finish by Delaney Thomas. So 2 seconds, just a catch and a shoot. Comes into Poindexter in the air, throws it up, Baker for 2. Just how they drew it up.
Exactly. The body control, like you said, not much time to work with, but Poindexter gets the bucket.
Richardson on the pull-up. She knocks it down.
Huge response by the senior there. She now has 9 on the night.
Yeah, and again, just plays a very controlled game, and their court leader. 7:40 to go. Third quarter, 43-34. Duke with the lead. Poindexter. She gets single coverage, and then she's cut off, and then she kicks it back. Up top to Sides. Taryn Sides. And underneath, that banker rolls around and in for Jalen Glenn. So Glenn with the bucket. 4th in the nation coming into this game. Assist to turnover ratio at 8. 8 assists to turnovers.
Yeah, she takes care of the ball. Like you said, 16 assists, just 2 turnovers coming into this one.
Thomas with the miss. Cleaning it up underneath was Jaden Donovan. Turnover. Here comes Jackson. Jackson, oh, Euro step layup attempt won't fall. Rebound underneath Donovan. She kept it alive. How about that Euro?
Just a smooth, but just couldn't get it to fall.
Imagine putting all that work into the repertoire and then no finish. Story of my life. Down to 5 seconds on the shot clock. High screen. There's Mayer pull-up jumper. She knocks it down. 11-point lead for Duke.
The first field goal for Mayer on the game, and man, was that pretty. Just a smooth release.
Lee, jump hook underneath. They're going to need Lee to come alive. They're holding opponents of late to under 20% shooting. 4-3, Jackson. She dishes it off. Thomas goes up, hits the side of the iron with Kevin Martin. And we're seeing Kansas State now trying to get themselves back into this game. Poindexter. What do you think Jeff Mitty's telling his team? There's Sundell, wide open drive on the baseline there.
Maybe knock down some threes. They have the ability to do that. But then Sundell right there just taking it straight to the bucket.
Here's Fournier. Fournier spin move off glass, draws the foul on Taylor. So
I mean, she is just an exciting freshman, and early on in this season, averaging 14.5 points per game. She's just so raw, right, Tony? The sky is the limit for Toby Fournier.
Sundell up top. Down by 8. Glenn likes that baseline drive, this time a little bit too hard. And the rebound comes out. Okinawa. Oh, the trailer. Fournier lays it in.
Beautiful transition offense there by the Duke Blue Devils. As you mentioned, Fournier running the floor and getting the lay-in.
And Mayer with 6 assists.
Again, we're seeing some good defensive stops turning into offense for Duke.
They're going to be a handful. Sundell, 1 out of 2 from the free throw line. She has 11 points. So K-State to trigger it in bounds. Lee on the high post. Sundell really needs to come alive here. Sanchez almost carried the ball. They look for a cutter, can't find one. Here's Sides. Her turnaround, travel. 12 on the shot clock. Richardson, ball fake one way. Kick it back out for De Jesus. And up top, Richardson for 3. Cannot make it rain. Scramble, this is wild and furious, and layup for 2 by Oluche Okinawa.
Yeah.
DePaul might have a say, though, today. They could play spoiler. Shot bends off the rim for Ayoka Lee. They're pushing her out from inside the paint, huh? Richardson, 3! Ring that baby up!
Reagan Richardson.
Most of those coming in the second quarter.
Yeah, and what's standing out to me, Tony, is that Duke is out rebounding Kansas State by 3, and Kansas State has been successful all season long, 3rd in the country in rebounding margin, typically out rebounding their opponents by 20 or more rebounds a game.
So on the feed from Jalen Glenn, Ayoka Lee, she gets the finish inside. And that lead down to 12. You want to get this to probably under 10 by the end of the third quarter. But there's a three-pointer, and on cue, it is Ashlyn Jackson for 3.
I think Ashlyn Jackson might have heard you say that she's been quiet lately, and she's like, okay, Tony, watch this.
Filling it up here.
She shot it right in front of us.
Boy, she really likes this arena. It is a beautiful spot here. The Lees Family Forum. They play ice hockey here. We've got the Vegas, or the Henderson Silver Knights, I should say, part of the Vegas Golden Knights family. We have arena football here, lacrosse, women's professional volleyball. There's Glenn. She almost traveled outside. Gisela Sanchez in the lane, and her little floater's good. That was a nifty move by Sanchez.
Yes, it was. Just slow and methodical, dribbling her back to the basket, taking her defender down. Nice little flick of the wrist there.
Three-pointer on the way by Jackson, this time off the mark, cannot connect. Terrence sides. They're posting up now with the game clock off. Or the game clock off, shot clock off. Game clock still running, down to 10. Here's Sundell. Sundell, her little leaner in the lane, draws the foul.
Obviously, Sundell drawing the foul, but it looks like they are going to start, instead of relying on the mid-range or outside.
They've created, right? So she has 5 fouls charged against her in this game, as does Ayoka Lee, which shows you their aggression and that they can get to the free throw line in most instances.
And that really is their bread and butter. The Wildcats have registered 30 or more points in the lane in their first 5 games of the season, including a season-high 56 points in the paint.
Kansas State trailing in this game by 12. 2 ranked teams going at it. On the attack, here's Walker. Looks for Lee down the low post. They lob it underneath, layup 2. They're going to have to do a lot more of that as Sundell. They're going to need her to heat up. Up top, here's Richardson. Pull up at the free throw line, and she buries it.
Reagan Richardson seems to have had an answer every single night here tonight as Kansas State scored. Richardson on the other end. She now has 14.
Sanchez underneath. Lee, that's usually money. Nope, will not drop. And the rebound to Delaney Thomas of the Duke Blue Devils. We've got a lot of WNBA presence here in the arena today. We just saw De'Erica Hamby here. What is she doing here? She went to Wake Forest, right?
Yeah, she went to Wake Forest, obviously now a member of the Los Angeles Sparks. Just hanging out in Vegas with some of her former teammates of the Las Vegas Aces.
Yeah, that's right. Chelsea Gray's here. Lexi Brown of the LA Sparks is here. The last bucket was credited to Richardson. Sanchez with the leaner there from about 13 feet in. And it's down to a 12-point advantage in favor of Duke. Every time Kansas State looks like they're going to go on a run, we see the Duke Blue Devils coming back and countering, if you will. Glenn, bounce pass deep in the corner, Sanchez. And now underneath, that shot won't drop for Sundell. They can't get a run going.
And it looks like Jeff Mitty's going to leave her in and just take the risk.
Outside, Jackson tees up a 3. That's money. 6.5 time for K-State. If they're going to make a run, you've got to start putting it together right now. Poindexter lean in. No, Poindexter doesn't see the ball behind her off the tip. And I was asking Lawson, why does she play a lot of these games on the road? Her answer was pretty interesting. because they played at South Dakota State already this season. They played at Maryland. And she just said 60 to 70 point wins are boring.
Yeah.
Oh, left-handed lay-in for 2 on that feed to Delaney.
Different than you, Tony. I always just love a close game, no matter who I'm rooting for.
So sides with the miss. No, I like the blowouts.
You don't like the high anxiety situation?
No, I always bring a lot of notes so I can get in some words, during the broadcast.
Right.
Some late contest words there, syllables, lay in 2. Big weekend, a lot of college basketball here in our city this week. We have that NIL tournament here. Here's Glenn on the dribble penetration layup for 2.
That's now 9 for Glenn, as she's getting something going offensively for Kansas State.
So now we're going to have to see Kansas State, more or less, they're going to have to try to gamble. Nice dribble penetration, Mayer kick out. On the perimeter, it's Glenn, and they'll just back it out right now. Glenn, though, gets a high screen, dribble penetration all the way to the bucket for 2. Jackson having a day here in Vegas. Lob pass underneath. Taylor, layup 2. Oh, pretty little pass from Gisela Sanchez.
Again, but it's too late in the game, and the lead is too big to start trading buckets. You mentioned it. Kansas State has to lock down defensively and, like you said, start gambling.
Here's Mayer up top. 3:15 remaining here in the opener. Here's Mayer again. Left side on the angle. Shot clock is down to 5. Top. It's Jackson. Pull up. She's feeling it. Jackson once again filling it up. My goodness. Have yourself a day, Ashlyn Jackson.
She now has 30 points on the day. 12 of 19 from the field. 6 of 9 from behind the arc.
She's so smooth, right? I just like she's done an assortment of moves and floaters, and she's filled it up from distance here today.
Took the words right out of my mouth. She's so versatile. I mean, like we said, she has the range to knock it down from behind the arc. We've seen her dribble drive to the paint and get some lay-ins, and then her mid-range game. There's levels to Ashlyn's game offensively, and we're seeing it on display here today.
High-low action is Kennedy Taylor with the finish there. She's put together a pretty good afternoon. And off the steal, Sundell.
Duke known for their defense, and it was really that type of game here today.
Mayer wide open baseline left. And off that miss, a nice rip there by Kennedy Taylor. I really like Taylor, and she's had to spell Ayoka Lee. And Lee, with those foot issues, the ankle problems, could still be hampered a little bit. Oh, reverse lay-in for Taylor.
And as you mentioned, with Oklahoma now at 9 or 8 in the country, excuse me.
Mayer with the dish underneath. They can't get it to drop as Delaney Thomas went up in traffic. And here's Walker. 40 seconds remaining. We're going to get a foul. That's going to go against Donovan. Just go.
Just go.
Did you have that bulldog mentality when you were a player?
Pre-knee surgeries. And when I had 6 knee surgeries total in my career.
Oh, my goodness.
So.
Oh, Taylor. So the Duke Blue Devils improved to 6-1 in Kansas State's Wildcats, which came in as the higher ranked team at number 9. And K-State now drops to 5-1 with the first loss of the season.
And really, Tony, it started on the defensive end for Duke. We talked about that slow start by the Blue Devils, but they picked it up in that second quarter, and it started on the defensive end.